Welcome to Parenting for the Long Run, where we cut through the clutter and give you advice on parenting that works, whether you're just starting out or you've encountered problems in your parenting endeavor. Thank you for joining us. Here we go.
I'm all in. Push your chips to the middle. I'm all in for the cards as they may. I'm all in. Push your chips to the middle. I'm all in. Go broke or get paid.
This is on.
Yes, it is on. Welcome to our podcast. My name is Philip O'Reilly. I will explain the name of our podcast here in a second, but before I get started, I wanted to send a shout out and a thanks to my niece and her husband, Chad and Erica Reiser, for allowing us to use their song, All In, for our bumper music for our podcast. That theme in the song described the attitude that my wife and I realized we had to undertake when we started raising our family. And so I was excited that they gave us permission to use that song. So thank you, Chad and Erica. So the name of our podcast. What is the name of our podcast? We were wondering about that for quite a while. I actually wanted to name it Good Dads Wear Black, but I wasn't sure that people would get the allusion to the Chuck Norris film, and besides, I don't look good in aviators. So we're not naming it Good Dads Wear Black. We're going to call our podcast Parenting for the Long Run, a practical parenting guide or practical principles for parenting. I was trying to fit a few more P's in there, but I gave it up. Anyway, I have recorded this first session probably 4 times, and I was wondering why I was having such a difficult time speaking to the camera. I mean, I've had a lot of experience speaking to audiences, and there is a difference speaking to a camera, but it just seemed unusually difficult. And I realized that part of the problem was that I was trying to be all things to all people. And as I was working out last week, it dawned on me, you're a Christian, you're coming at this topic from a Christian perspective. I believe that non-Christians or people who don't typically go to church will benefit from the podcast, but the basic premises for my parenting strategy have always been founded upon Judeo-Christian principles. So why would I apologize for that? And so I decided I'm just going to make it a practice in each one of these podcasts to say a quick prayer and lay my cards on the table. And if you stick around, which I would encourage you to do, at least give it a try, I think you will benefit from the material that we go over. So with that in mind, Lord Jesus, thank you for the opportunities you put before us. I pray that you would enable me to speak sincerely, clearly, and to say things that are valuable to those listening. Amen. So, why a podcast on parenting? There's numerous podcasts out there already on the subject. Why would we need one more? Well, I don't want to seem arrogant, but I think that a lot of the information out there is erroneous. And so I wanted to share my wife and Laura's and mine's experiences and the things that we have learned as we've watched our kids grow up and also watched other parents interact with their children, and share with you the things that work and the things that don't work so well. So to kind of set the stage, let me paint a scenario that you have probably observed if you have been around the block at least a couple times. You've gone to a restaurant, or maybe you're on an airplane, You're at the movie theater, and there is a child that is throwing a fit, and the child's parent is either unable or unwilling to deal with the situation and get the child to quit throwing a fit. Well, there are a lot of negative consequences associated with that. For starters, if the child continues in that line of behavior, he is going to develop habits that are going to plague him when he becomes an adult. So that's one very direct result of that. Two, the parents' lives are going to be, if not miserable, at least less enjoyable than they could be if they were capable of dealing with that situation. And third, young people who are either married but not yet moms and dads, or who are thinking about getting married, look at that situation and they say, if that's what parenting's about, man, I do not want anything to do with that. And if they follow through on that conclusion, they are going to deprive themselves of one of the greatest blessings of adult life, having kids and raising them up into productive adults. So in contrast with that principle, let me share an anecdote about 5 adults that live in Boise, Idaho. They range in age from 24 to 37. They get together probably once a week at least. They also get together either to go climbing or get coffee, go hiking in groups of 2s and 3s. And the joy that they exhibit when they are together is so contagious that they draw other people into their sphere of influence who want to be part of that. Well, it just so happens that these 5 adults that live in Boise, Idaho are 5 of my wife Laura and mine's children, and they, I think by their own admission, are best friends. And that is the outcome that can occur if we as parents are disciplined and consistent in our parenting. And so I hope to communicate some of the principles that we used when we were raising our kids, and share with you our successes and our failures, and how we came to have kids that now, even though they argued considerably when they were growing up, now are best friends and would not trade their friendships with each other for friendships with anyone else. And it's also true, as kind of a side note on this, that really my adult sons are my best friends now. And that is a truly rewarding experience. Now, they weren't my friends when they were under my authority as the father, because it wasn't my job to be their friend, it was my job to be their father. But now that they're adults and they're have families of their own, we are very good friends and do a lot of things together. So that is the goal that I hold out there in front of you as something that is achievable if you are consistent in your parenting. So at this point, you should probably have a couple questions. If you don't have questions, let me give you some that you should ask. The first one is, so what do you know?
How much do you know?
Well, it's easier for me to tell you what I don't know than what I do know. From an academic standpoint, I have no qualifications to talk about parenting. I don't have a degree in psychiatry. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't have any educational experience in early childhood development. I don't speak with a British accent. None of those qualifications that seem to grant other people the ability to give advice on child rearing apply to me. What I do have is, along with my wife, a track record for raising 10 kids. Yes, I said 10 kids, 9 of whom now are out of the house, productive adults, working in society, raising their own families, and one who is a senior graduating in a couple of months at the time that from the time that I record this podcast. And we have had 10 years experience at every age of the child rearing process. And so based upon our track record of success, which is largely a function of the Lord's graciousness and applying the principles that have been passed down across the millennia, we are qualified to give advice on parenting. So that's what we know. And I can give you an example of how our success is manifest. When our kids were younger, like 12 and down, we would sometimes go into a restaurant and there would be 8 kids at that time. And oftentimes I would observe the waitress as she started to approach our table and realize that this family with 8 kids was seated in her section, and her composure would just like drop because she anticipated that her life was going to be miserable for an hour because these kids were just going to be ill-behaved, throwing food all over, speaking impolitely to her, and she was trying to get her strength up for this trial. But when our time went on and she realized that our kids sat quietly, they spoke to one another in reasonable voices, they spoke to her politely when they were ordering, or spoke to me and asked me to tell the waitress what they wanted. They didn't throw food across the table or on the floor or anything like that. The waitress's attitude would cheer dramatically. And I have had managers on more than one occasion come up and thank me for having well-behaved children. And we accomplish that not through any magic tricks. My wife and I are not children whisperers or anything, but we were just consistent in our parenting, and much of this, the credit for this goes to my wife for her patience and constant diligence in raising the kids while I was off at work and she was at home with the kids. But there are no secrets. I mean, raising children is very similar in one respect to losing weight. If you want to lose weight, really all you have to do is take in fewer calories and work out. You do those things almost without failure, you will lose weight. But nobody wants to do those things because they require discipline. Same thing is true in parenting. There are really no secrets. You just have to be disciplined and diligent in your applications of the principles that we will talk about. So I would encourage you to join us as we undertake this podcast. We will have short sessions that give you practical advice on how you can deal with specific situations. The next podcast, probably not the next one, but the one after the next one, we will deal with the issue of newborns, for example. How do you handle a newborn once you get them home from the hospital if they're born at the hospital? I mean, as Bill Cosby says in one of his comedy routines, we take people who are rank amateurs and hand them a baby and say, okay, here you go, raise this kid. Well, how do you get that newborn nurtured and into a routine that is both good for the newborn and good for you? So we'll discuss that not next time, but the time after. Next time, I'm going to talk about some of the assumptions that my wife Laura and I employed when we were raising our kids, because assumptions are important. So I encourage you to give this a try, even if you are not someone who regularly attends church. I think you'll benefit from it. And if you know of people who would also be interested in this topic, please share it with them. Hit the subscribe button, and you will be notified when we put out another podcast. So for now, thank you for coming and joining our podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.